Left jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son, actions over words, baby boy, is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come back sports, talking way too much, world come back sports, talking way too much, world come back sports.
Big shout out to the hottest chat in the MFing game. A-side official. No negotiation needed. You already know. The first in the building. Big Blunts and Box on deck. He said, what's good, OG? What's good with it, Blunts? How you living, man? What's good with you? Salute to you. Appreciate dropping the info. You know what I'm saying? You know, drop the info in the DMs. Shout out to everybody who support the channel as always. It's Friday. And we back for another one. We have some topics to speak on. Some hot grease as usual. Hit the like button. Something simple. You feel me? We're going to get right down to the understanding. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get down to the understanding. Please. 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 We're going to get down to the understanding of what you see on the screen. Let me read the title. Kell Brook admits Triple G loss damaged him badly. Should have pulled out the Spence bout. Thurman's poor purse. We're going to get to that. So let's start off with Kell Brook stepping on deck and admitting what I've spoken about and many others for the test of time. Especially when all the debates was going on and all that. We were saying that 8 months wasn't enough time for Kell Brook to heal from the damage he took from Triple G. People was trying to deny it. They were saying everybody, you know, Kell Brook was good to go. You know what I'm saying? Even Errol Spence was basically, checked on that. And he said, so what? He didn't really care about any of that. You know what I'm saying? He just wanted to take the glory as it was and keep it moving because he was able to win his first world title. He didn't really care. You know what I'm saying? They wanted the fight to be in Kell Brook's backyard, which it was. But yet, a part of that was taken away, removed from his lifelong extension that it could have had. You know, people could have been talking about this for the longest of time if he wouldn't have been coming down, if he wouldn't have came down from 2 divisions from 160 to 147. So when all these debates was going on, man, you know, people, it didn't have nothing to do with common sense. It just had something to do with being obstinate. It had something to do with fight fans trying to pretty much protest for their favorite fighter. If you look back on that fateful time, Kell Brook fought Gennady Golovkin September 2016. September 2016, right? The fight was stopped in the 5th round. Kell Brook was currently at that point in time the IBF welterweight world champion. Errol Spence was his mandatory. So he moved up there against the better wishes of his promoter and everything. He was stopped in the 5th round, daring to be great, okay? Gennady Golovkin was a hitter. Gennady Golovkin was a hitter. It was going to be a tough fight. When the fight was stopped, the scorecards read 38-38, 38-38, 39-37. So Kell Brook saw something. He felt he can go in there and get it done. He lost, and guess what? Around approximately 8 months later, he has to drop back down. First of all, he has to heal. He has to heal. He has an eye injury. He has to heal. Get surgery. He has to heal. Go through rehab. Then get cleared to even get back into sparring, to do any type of training, and to get to a point where he can you know, take damage on that eye doing sparring, if he had any. And would step back in there with Spence. May 2017. What a short window, man, for a fighter who went up 2 weight divisions and come back down to his currently campaigning weight, 2 weight divisions below. And Team Spence refused him an extension. They wanted to fight regardless. It happens in the sport. I'm not going to treat it like it's a nursery. I mean, the hurt business is the hurt business for a reason. He drops back down and Spence stops him in the 11th round. At the time of the stoppage, the scorecards read 97-92, 96-93, and 95-94. You know what I'm saying? Another close fight for Errol Spence if it would have went to the scorecards with no knockdown. But that's not even what I'm here for. I'm more so speaking about the physical damage that was received by Kell Brook from Gennady Golovkin. The physical damage that was received to Kell Brook from Errol Spence Jr. It's many times that I was having these debates and, you know, people was being told what they knew. I mean, this was common sense shit. This was simple. The man went up there against a heavy hitter, a machine like Gennady Golovkin, and took damage. People didn't want to hear nothing about that. They say that was, it only takes this amount of time for an eye to heal. Imagine this now. You have fanatics, boxing fanatics, making the claim that it only takes so many weeks. It only takes 8 weeks for an eye to heal, or orbital. You know, like everybody's body structure is the same. If that was the case, we would have such a surplus of elite, you know what I'm saying, athletes and playing on the highest level, but that's not the case. So they up there talking about it only takes 8 weeks for the eye to heal. That was ample amount of time for him to heal after surgery and then go through the rehabilitation, get cleared, and get back into training. Like it was that simple. Now Kell Brook has came out and made it perfectly clear. In his words, he has talked with Boxing Scene, and he's came out. He said that was the first time that someone got in my head before a fight, said Brook. I remember being in a hotel room. I'm fighting Golovkin tonight. I honestly started to doubt myself. I remember me and my nutritionist were in the hotel room at the time, and I didn't say I lose, but I said to him, I can win this fight, can I? Can I? That was me straight away saying it out loud, and it was negative. I was doubting myself. In the weeks leading up to the fight, all I seen were videos of Golovkin knocking everyone out, and they were all middleweights. It then dawned on me that I was fighting him in a few hours. A lot of it is the mind. It's the law of attraction. If you really believe something, like I'm going to win the title with everything I got, you can go out and do it. And I did. But for the first time in my career, I was negative and subsequently was handed my first defeat, y'all. This is a man having a conversation with self. You know what I'm saying? This is a conversation a lot of fighters have, especially when they know they're about to step in there and undertake a huge feat, a threshold. You know what I'm saying? A climb that they never ventured into before. It goes on to say, Brooks then candidly spoke about the impact the fight had on him, stepping into the ring with a man that other middleweights were too scared to fight, let alone welterweights going up in weight, and the physical and mental damage that ensued following the bout. Brooks said, looking back at it, Gennady Golovkin was an absolute monster. He was someone who was unbeaten and believed he could beat any man, even at middleweight. I always thought that I could box him and keep out of the way, and that I was better. But as we know, it didn't go down like that. It damaged me and it changed me. When he broke my eye, the surgeon said to me that one more big shot and I could have been blind and could have lost my eye. And that hit home for me. Those same feelings resurfaced when I boxed Spence Jr. I knew something terrible had happened with Golovkin. It was like a crab claw being crushed. I could hear it and I could feel it. The adrenaline was rushing, but I knew something wasn't right. It wasn't so much the pain, but it was what it did to my vision. It was frightening. It was always frightening when you've got someone with that power against a wounded animal. It was scary. This is Kell Brook letting y'all know. Years after, he letting y'all know what it is. He's not doing it for any type of clout ranger position. This is what a lot of us knew, myself. You just can't say that you're going to heal from a high eye injury that severe and you're going to come back 100% in 8 months. That man was damaged when he stepped in there with Spence. He was damaged, but he still took the fight. I got to commend him for his courage. You know what I'm saying? His fortitude, his honor. I got to commend him for that. Because he was going from one tough fight to another tough fight. Knowing what he just mentioned to y'all about hearing the bones crack. And knowing what the doctor said, he would have took another big shot. He could have been blind. It takes somebody with a different type of cloth to wipe that freaking blood and sweat off of their brow and sign up for another tough fight just because that fight is the mandatory. And you don't want to lose your title like that. Plus, it's a paycheck. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what he got paid, but he was coming off a Gennady paycheck, and then he was going in there getting a Spence paycheck. Moving on. It says, following his fight with Golovkin, Brook had to drop weight in order to fight Spence Jr., and he deemed his failure to perform the second time a significantly bigger dent to his confidence in comparison to his first loss. Losing had a big impact the first time. This is Kell Brook talking. But the second loss was the biggest one for me, said Brook. I think because Golovkin was a unified middleweight beast that other middleweights weren't even fighting. It wasn't as bad. I still lost though and was absolutely devastated. But what really destroyed me was losing to Errol Spence Jr. If I hadn't lost to Golovkin, I think I would have had 100% better chance of beating Spence. On top of losing, I had the added pressure to make middleweight. After that fight, I was a middleweight and I had my eye broken. Eddie Hearns offered me the option of going up with my title because at the time I had to make the weight in a short period, to which I said absolutely not. I've earned this title and you got to kill me to take it. The training camp for Spence Jr. fight was terrible. Once again, WCS will underscore. Kell Brook said the training camp for the Spence Jr. fight was terrible. I was carrying all of this extra weight. I wanted to be completely and utterly focused, but I was having problems with my trainer who was dealing with things at home. Everything was wrong going into that fight. I got to fight, and my family was telling me I needed to pull out, but we sold all the tickets and I had done my training. In my own mind, I was thinking, I'm going to make the weight. I got to fight and I'm a fighter. Looking back, it was one fight I wish I had pulled out of. He said he wished he had pulled out of the fight. Why? It must have been serious. You know what I'm saying? It must have been serious because he wasn't together. It goes on to say I had to question myself after the fight, asking myself, am I really good enough? I started thinking about retirement. I hit a really low point in my life, in my career. I was around 30, and I just thought losing in my weight category against Spence was a tough pill to swallow, especially when I believed in myself and I was a world champion. It was my lowest point. That was coming from Kell Brook, giving you the honesty of it all. You know what I'm saying? He basically was giving you what was on his heart. That shit was real, authentic. And I can respect what he said. You know? But he said, I got to the fight and my family were telling me I need to pull out. But we sold all the tickets and I've done my training. In my own mind, I was thinking, I'm going to make the weight. I've got to fight that I'm a fighter. Looking back, it was one fight I wish I had pulled out of. Now, you all hearing that? That just goes to show you, from a fighter's perspective and mindset, everyone is cut from a different cloth. This man was obviously going through adversities in his life. But as a fighter, he said, you know what? If I can get one of the two, I'll be good. I lost to Gennady. Let me go back down here and try to fight Spence. Spence is a tough fight. And at that time, Spence was a freaking, a bruiser, man. He was known for coming forward, and Spence was waiting for that come out fight. This was his championship fight. He stepped out of Texas into the backyard of the UK, across the pond, and it was a good look. You know what I'm saying? He's coming to Kell Brook's backyard, and Kell Brook was not a small welterweight, bro. But when you have injuries, you know what I'm saying? When you move up to challenge yourself, dare to be great to step in there with a monster like Triple G. And it just wasn't an average fight. If that would have been an average fight where, it was a knockdown, multiple knockdowns or something like that, no, it just wasn't an average fight. This was a punishing fight. This fight had the severity of its consequences extended out to a point where medically it ended up being a residual problem. You know what I'm saying? When you're talking about joints, when we're talking about those two eyes, when we're talking about the brain, that can be extremely serious. We're going through that situation. I always mention this about Israel Vasquez, how his eye was fucked up and he came back too early and kept on going through those tough fights, and he ended up losing his eye once he retired. But for Kell Brook, he had that heart, man. You know, people around him was telling him to put out. He had sold the tickets. He said, I'm a fighter. I got to go in here and fight. Let me get back to the chat right quick. Shout out to Andrew Charles in the building. Brought up the beating Triple G put on Brooks. Yeah, absolutely. When include myself, I used to bring it up all the time. I say, how can Gennady be a beast at 160? Kell Brook moves up to 160, get punished, and y'all act like the punishment Kell Brook received was nothing. You act like Gennady didn't deliver as much, punishment as he possibly could. He didn't maximize it. No, at that time, Gennady was dangerous, man. You know what I'm saying? Dangerous. And look, it could have changed freaking Kell Brook's life forever if he would have went in there and handed Gennady Golovkin his loss. At that time, Gennady was undefeated. You know what I'm saying? That would have changed Kell Brook's boxing life, yo. Jay on deck, what's good? Bruce Gas Boxing Jazz Simone on deck. Salute to you, OG. Shout out to the man himself, the News by Shot News Sauce Experience, man. Team Tucker Official on deck, man. Be sure to check out one of the hottest channels on the YTC. Check them out, man. Check out the work they're putting in. Yes, sir. Become a member and be patient with the progress. It's there. And shout out to Jihad, man. Whenever you go through that dang process of recovery, do what you got to do, big dog. Electric Boogie Woogie. Triple G broke him. They all knew this. Hey, Shot News. What they knew and what they wanted to accept was freaking miles apart. They didn't want to accept the fact that Kell Brook was damaged by Triple G. Everybody at that moment knew Triple G was a monster, just like Kell Brook said. But when Kell Brook took that damage and he dropped back down, people wanted to ignore. Really, his fans wanted to act like they was mute and they had cataracts themselves, acute cataracts, all the way to the point where they act like, well, it could be a clone. I'm serious. They probably thought it was a different Kell Brook. Kell Brook 2.0, some other thing. I mean, this man had just been stopped. And I remember a person told me, oh, man, it was just a TKO. And that's when I knew right then that a lot of these so-called diehard boxing fans, when they was explaining the shit about Crawford, they said, oh, man, he ain't doing shit. He getting TKO stoppages. They couldn't separate the two. From a KO to a TKO. You missed the count, it's a KO. A TKO is when you are in a bad place right now. You can be fumbling all over the place, disorientated. And the referee jumps in and say, oh, no more fight. Or you can be like Ryan Garcia, get punched to the body. He take a knee, jumps up right when count, and the referee waves it off. That's a KO. But he's still coherent. You know what I'm saying? He's competent enough to know that, hey, I'm hurt enough, but I can still get up. As in the TKO, you might be disorientated, discombobulated, and you don't know where you at. But I knew right then when they said, hey, man, it was just a TKO when he fought Gennady. It was only the 5th round. Dude, you talking about the 5th round with Gennady from a fighter who's moving up 2 weight classes. Jesus, man. Smoke session on deck. What's good with it? Salute to you, man. Shout out to Mr. International Toby Bartlett in the building across the pond. Salute to the boxing fans over there. Salute WCS in the hottest chat in the YTC. We're global, baby. We're global. Yes, sir. We are global. It's better to be global than just local. Big respect to Kell for his bravery, but Eddie didn't want him to take Spence fight. He should have pulled out and healed up. Well, if he would have pulled out, the IBF most definitely would have stripped him. So he would have lost his title. and I don't know exactly what would have happened from there, except he would have avoided the second case of his left eye being damaged by Spence. That's it. But as far as how he lost the title, I don't think he would have wanted to go out like that. But sometimes you can't tell a fighter something like, you got to give it up that Kell Brook had the fighting spirit. Hold on for a second, y'all. Yeah. Getting back to what Toby said, I like the big respect to Kell Brook for his bravery, but Eddie didn't want him to take the Spence fight. I can understand that because, they was apprehensive about him moving up 2 weight division to face Gennady. So I can understand that. You know what I'm saying? I can understand that, but let's just say, for instance, that Kell Brook would have had more success with Triple G. Then it would have changed things up a little bit. What if it was a closer fight? You know what I'm saying? What if he could have, found a somehow a niche in that fight where, he was able to keep the momentum, gain the momentum and keep the momentum, and potentially took it to a draw or to win the fight at Gennady at that time. It would have basically propelled his career to a whole new height. I'm telling you, it would have been something amazing. And then him coming off that, dropping back down, I'm saying absent of the damage, right? Dropping back down to face Spence, potentially that fight could have went a different way because that fight was close with the damage he's received from Triple G. It just got to a point where he said, I can't do it no more. He had to take a knee. Real talk. He had to take a knee. He couldn't get up from the count in 11. So that was a KO win for Spence. Remember, this a healthy Kell Brook beat Sean Porter with ease. Some people say if Spence didn't get that knockdown, hey, what do I know? Well, that'll make not one fight, but 2 fights where Spence has stepped up and if he wasn't able to receive the knockdown. So, look, the fact that he did receive the knockdown, in the eye of 2 storms, I have to give him credit for that because that's what boxing is about, right? You know what I'm saying? You got to know how to fight through the fury. You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to fight through inclement weather. And Kell Brook was doing that. Errol Spence was doing it. And, he just happened to catch him at the right time. And supposedly they didn't want to provide that man with an extension. So he ended up getting the victory. Hey, Kell Brook chose to take that fight with Spence. And he lost his title. But like I said before, karma comes back around because guess who's going through that same situation? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not from moving up in weight, daring to be great that this is going on. It's from a whole different situation. Porter gave EJ hell. Facts. Who wants to debate the news by shot news stats? Hey, man, they don't want to go over there and let the sauce. You know what sauce does? Piping hot sauce, man. That shit burns. A lot of these cats are looking for YTC healthcare and they find out it don't exist. Stickum boys on deck. Salute, man. Crawford is the goods. Boxing fans get programmed to what they're watching. Absolutely. Absolutely. Toby said middleweights wouldn't face Triple G. Eubanks. That's why Kell Brook took the Triple G fight. Hey, look, I gotta commend Kell Brooks for having heart. You know what type of person am I? Like, competitive spirit wise, that's where my mind at. Like, my adrenaline is on different levels for certain things, like racing bikes. You gotta have a different type of adrenaline to race bikes. When you see somebody lose their life and you continue to go even faster or whatever, it's a different type of adrenaline. Well, boxers have a different type of adrenaline to challenge themselves, to go into the heat of battle and test and see, you know, am I one of the most elites ever in the sport? You know what I'm saying? Can I fight these names and come out victorious? Can I handle the adversity and pressure? You know what I'm saying? Can I fight through the challenge and controversy? You know what I'm saying? Can I do this shit? I mean, if other middleweights was basically eluding Triple G, and Kell Brook had it in himself at that time, his confidence level was there. He felt it. And he said he got a little doubtful on the night he was supposed to step in the ring. I mean, that's natural. That's natural shit we go through. We start to like second guess shit. Like, can I do it? Can I do it? Can I do it? I mean, only that person knows the self-doubt that was registering. You know what I'm saying? How high it was on the barometer. And he did what he do. I got to salute Kell Brook on that shit, bro. I do. I got to salute him on that. The team Spence Mold told me that EJ is the new Kell Brook. He is damaged after that Crawford beatdown. Damn. Man, what I see, you know, out of this situation, good. We don't have any huge fights. So this is a good time for Kell Brook to put the story out there, which we already knew. We knew he was fucked up. We knew the shit. But to bring it out now, being that Spence is basically on even, let me see how to say this. I'm trying to gauge on a scale of severity who got it worse. You know, because when you look at the TKO stoppage and Kell Brook taking the knee against Gennady, yeah, his eye was fucked up, but he didn't look the worse for wear like we seen Errol Spence, okay? Even when Errol Spence defeated him, he didn't look the worse for wear, but his eye was a little swollen. But what Crawford did to Spence so early in the fight, it could have fucked him up. Layers deep. Not just, you know, the confidence barometer, but that retirement meter. For a fighter to be at a point like Spence right now, where he's younger than Crawford, and to get beat up the way he did and take the damage, we won't really know what is all consistent with the sport of boxing as far as the punishment he took, or what was received on the street. Because on the street is undefeated. The American pavement is undefeated. You get your ass ejected out of the freaking car with no seatbelt. That cement don't have no weight class. It's been some big, small, medium, you know, human beings that met that pavement. And the pavement has freaking titles that humans can never achieve. The pavement don't play. The pavement don't play, bro. You know, so I'm thinking overall, you know, when you talk about everything, Errol Spence definitely has a lot more going on than Kell Brook. I would say that. the beating that Crawford put on, just like Shanu said, you know, and everybody else witnessed July 29th. Yeah, it's gonna sit with him for a minute. You know, and not to mention everything else that he's coming up with the eye injury. But for Kell Brook, to keep it on topic, you know, all I can say is, man, I respect him for having a warrior spirit. Real talk. I mean, I respect Kell Brook for having a warrior spirit like that. I did. I do. I respect him because he basically went into 2 high-level challenges. He went in there with a monster, and he went in there with a guy who people believe to be a monster. He hadn't quite got there yet, but he was a tough fighter in Errol Spence Jr. So he went in there and went tit for tat, war, mano a mano with Spence and lost. And that was more so due to the damage that he was subjected to 2 weight class higher. I said it then, I say it now, man. So shout out to Kell Brook. Shout out to you, man. You had to do what you got to do. So, you know, we'll leave that right there. EJ got it worse. Bud beat him like he stole some out of the store and got caught. Like he was in Neiman Marcus and got caught trying to steal shit. You can't hide no more, Derek, for real. No more hide. EJ came clean and said things just started hurting. Well, you know, when he came out and said things just started hurting was when he was trying to convince people that he was going to come out with fight news to fight Crawford. This was, you know, very, very contradicting based off what was going on with the negotiation process. Crawford had pretty much left the negotiation to go over there and fight Avanesian. And then in the meanwhile, the aerosexual was up here creating lies and false narratives saying that the fight could have happened in 22, which it was never happening in 22. But in the meanwhile, on the night of the fight, Spence up here getting into another accident. And then from that accident, he's going to try to convince the people to say, well, I was going to give you some fight news, but things start hurting. No one heard anything about no fight news. So that turned out to be a bogus, fraud-ass lie as always, right? It turned out that wasn't even the case. You know what I'm saying? An accident out of nowhere, several days later, after he told people that the shirts was coming down from the website, he said, well, guess what? I was going to tell them several days after the fight, the big announcement, but things just start hurting. Come on now. Nobody's believing that, dog. The Pavement is a one-hitter quitter. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, the Pavement, they don't have no weight classes for the Pavement. You know what I'm saying? The absolute division right there. You know what I'm saying? That shit is one of a kind, an anomaly. Kell Brook is official, no doubt, man. You know, Kell Brook, man, he made two risky decisions, 2 tough, monumental decisions, man, against 2 top-notch fighters. That's warrior shit right there, bro. Double Agent Mo really coming through with this information. The Mo knew he owes that for all the slander on my name. He just coming clean. Hey man, it's a lot that's been on board with this. I'm glad the debates from back then has been flushed down the dirtiest toilet in the YTC, because that's what it was, trash. And then, you know, for him to finally get the fight in 23, and for them to go through that moment in time that we will always remember 50, 60, 70 years from now. You know what I'm saying? When your kids will be talking about what their parents was watching back then. You know what I'm saying? And the shit will always be the same. You know what I'm saying? The shit will always be the same. For those who want to do the proper research, they'll find out who got their ass beat. But for the family tree that continue to goddamn let their people be misguided and everything, they'll still try to come over here and say, well, back then I remember when Unc, Unc used to tell me, man, Unc used to tell me that this fight right here, this guy was once upon a time Mr. Popular. But what I learned about Mr. Popular, it don't always work out, when it comes to the sport of boxing. Mr. Popular can get popularly ass whooped, you know what I'm saying? And people turn their back on him. So they would go from, most popular to most unpopular. It happens. But I do thank the Holy Spirit for allowing me to witness that moment. And for those who were sitting up here down those fighters to basically be taught on the job training type of lesson. That's what we was taught in this whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Even when Kell Brook stepped up to fight, Terrence Crawford, he stepped in there and he tried to give it. He was having pretty decent success in the first 3 rounds. And then Crawford switched to southpaw at the end of the 3rd, and the 4th is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I just like what we're looking at right now. We're in Black History Month, and there was a saying when I was growing up, they used to talk about all the time, keep hope alive. You know what I'm saying? Blacks used to put up the fist, and you say, keep hope alive, keep hope alive. Well, I hope the aerosexual is still keeping hope alive, because now that we know that Terrence Crawford is not fighting Tim Tszyu, we have to talk about some other stuff. Let's talk about the PBC and this travesty of a fight card that we have to, well, we don't have to, but we have awareness that is going down March 30th. Okay. So this fight card, we have some people that's on here that they're not even jumping on the bandwagon. They're what you call cross-dressers. You know what I'm saying? Hear me out. There are some individuals on here that never supported PBC, but all of a sudden they want to jump over there. I call them cross-dressers, man, media cross-dressers, because they don't understand. They don't have clarity on what identity that they want to basically hold on to. If it's going to be Top Rank or is it going to be PBC? They trying to do stuff that's already been done. They're happy just to get on deck. You know what I'm saying? It's people that supporting Al Heyman's freaking fight card when they know damn well they have criticized other fight cards that in the same manner didn't have no shine, no pop on it, no entertainment factor, none of that shit. They're up here trying to say that the main event for this card, Keith Thurman, after all that time off, non-title fight, makes sense. Is this not one of the worst fight cards? Not just because it's like PBC, but this is one of the worst fight cards that you can think back in a long time that's going to be on pay-per-view. This is one of the worst. What makes it look, what makes it just horrendous is the fact that Rolando Romero is the co-main event with Isaac Cruz. That's what makes it just terrible. It makes it terrible, y'all. It makes it absolutely terrible. And people up here believing that I'm just criticizing because it's PBC. I'm not. I'm criticizing it because the material across the board, last time I checked, is a fight card. Combat Sports put them on all the time. They have a list of fighters that's on the roster, and they label them in the weight class that they're contending at. And the description is their name versus sub-name opponent. That's how that works. This is no different. It just comes down to the co-main event and the main event to kick off with Amazon Prime. If y'all remember what I said when they was talking about all this information supposed to be released last week, I said, okay, it really don't make any sense to me too much, because it just seems like it's not that much star power over there that we can look forward to of fighters that's fighting big names. Who's the stars over there? Where's the star power at? Like, we don't know what's going on with the Charlos. Once again, did you look close enough? Charlo is not on that card. Charlo is not. Charlo said he was going to be back in March. He's not on the March card. So people just taking his word. Hey, man, Charlo going to get the Canelo fight. Do we really know if, Canelo is going to fight two Charlos back to back? So you trying to tell me being off as long as he was to come back and fight Jose Benavidez and go in the distance, that's all he needed to step in there with Canelo and give a better account of himself than whatever his little brother name is? He's going to give a better account? I'm sure he can, but is Jose Benavidez the so-called one-legged fighter? You know what I'm saying? Actor, boxer. Was that enough for Mauro Charlo, being he went through his personal problems and everything, to come back and fight Benavidez and now stepping up with Canelo? It is what it is, man. He said he was going to be back. Obviously, he didn't know what was on the horizon. But word has it, it might be Canelo that he's coming in there in May. With that said, PBC's fight card, y'all, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how anybody else can be put on this fight card that boosts the freaking the attraction value. Like, where can they get the names? Like Rolando Romero and Isaac Cruz. Jesus Christ. Wow. I mean, goodness gracious. The good thing about this is that the year just started. Let's look at it in that way. The year just started in 2024. I have to do my due diligence and say, where is all the pro PBC channels? All I hear them talking about is Crawford, Crawford, Crawford. Seriously, I just hear some of you cats that was all Al Heyman-esque. You was all Al Heyman-esque, but bro, y'all not gonna comment? That's one thing I don't understand. Like, if y'all are so pro PBC, why y'all get so hush hush when some information comes out like this, and it deserves scrutiny? It deserves you to be critical. This is not it. That fight card is not it. March 30th. It's damn near 4 months. It's damn near going to be on the doorstep of 4th month of the first quarter of 2024, and they come out with this fight card, and the pro PBC channels are not even saying anything about it. They keep on talking about the same fighters. Gervonta Davis, he ducked this, he ducked Devin Haney ducked. I mean, come on, man. Y'all don't see any type of point in this fight card. It's not any area that concerns you. That Tim Tszyu is fighting Keith Thurman in a non-title fight that's 12 rounds, and he will be only several days short of 26 months when he stepped back in the square. You don't see any problem with that? You don't see how Keith Thurman is set up to lose? There's no way that Thurman is going in there and winning. I don't see any of it. He don't need the orders. He don't need any of that. Keith Thurman set to go in there and face Tszyu, and he's gonna lose. I just believe it. Now, if Keith Thurman goes the full 12 rounds after being out that long, like Charlo said, I will come on here and absolutely apologize for underestimating. I had to come on here and apologize for underestimating before. But I don't see Keith Thurman going the distance with a Tim Tszyu who's trying his best to get a bigger fight with the likes of a Crawford. You know what I'm saying? He wants to go in here and wow the crowd so people can start looking at him like, okay, all right. I mean, because I see it like this. I see Keith Thurman, losing via TKO. I just see him losing via TKO, man. just like Charlo could have been stopped by Canelo, but he's a unified champion at 54, so he wasn't going to go in there and get flatlined by Canelo. That's why Canelo was freaking carrying. Canelo carried Charlo entire fight. He carried him. You trying to tell me Canelo couldn't cut off the ring? So when it comes to Tszyu and Thurman, can he carry him to the distance? You know, when it comes to the Bednars, that might be what it is. You know, we just seen Bivol carry Arthur to the freaking distance, and he could have stopped that dude. He dropped him twice. Wouldn't have Bivol, you know, he don't know how to close down. Come on, man. Oh man, it's just one of the most horrendous cards, man. And I need to see where the pro Spence channels are at. You know what I'm saying? Where are y'all at, man? Why y'all not talking about this card? Why y'all not talking about the obvious? The obvious, bro. That's all I want. Why y'all not talking about the obvious? It's Friday, man. I'm going to drop the link a little bit. I want to hear what the people got to say. You know, good, bad, and indifferent. I just want to hear what y'all got to say, man. For real, because it's not often that I, put the link out there. Shout out to Jessica on deck, man. The queen in the building. I just dropped the link in the chat. If Bob, Eddie, or Oscar pulled something like this, the content would have been crazy. Yeah, man, it would have been crazy because you got people up here that had continued. They was in here ranting and raving about what Top Rank and all those other promotions don't do. But now, us, we were supposed to have been sick, super, super sick, right? And we barely even caught a freaking sneeze or a cold from this shit. Shout out to the one and only Shaw News, man. Team Tucker official on deck. My guy, what's good?
Hey, nah, man. I'm just getting out the emergency room, man. I'm sick. Sick.
I know, man. I seen your text in the DM that you had a bad case of disappointment. What they tell you about that?
Yeah, I just man, I came down with the PBC flu, man. It was the PBC flu.
Tell me this: what was the symptoms though when you started to try to, when you started to come down with the PBC flu? What was the symptoms, bro?
First I was vomiting, nausea, and vomiting. It was like I work with heavy equipment, so I felt like I was at the recycling center. When you go to the recycling center, it's a lot of trash and debris. There was like a lot of trash and debris overcame me with that fumes. So I got nauseous.
I feel you on that, man. A lot of people, I think, got nauseous off that PBC flu. For real. Yeah. What was something they gave you to get over it, though? Is it curable? First of all, is it curable, though?
Yeah. Luckily, I got some antibiotics from the mole. The mole hit me with some good information to uplift my spirits. Then I went to the YTC, and I'm possibly hearing from my sources from the YTC we're still going to get Tank Davis and Gervonta Davis. Sorry, Frank Martin and Gervonta Davis. So I'm looking forward to that.
To be honest, man, I wish you would have just kept it on Gervonta Davis versus Tank Davis, because that's what we had in the boxing news. No, we need shit. They putting out shit like that, bro. So you could just kept it there, and then we could have took it from there, man.
Yeah, well,
I see them two fight.
Yeah, but I just want to commend you, man, because shout out to the Boxing Woods. I seen the Boxing Woods did a great poll on this, but a lot of these other channels, man, to me it's disappointing because I feel like if these other promoters and networks would have done something like this after disappearing for a couple of months, the content would have been all over. But I just think, the Grand Poobah, the wizard over there, He just gets a pass, man. He could just come out here and poison the water, and we just got to drink it and get sick.
Yo, man, that seems like where it's at. You know what I'm saying? I'm surprised some of the PBC, the pro PBC channels didn't get, the flu too. They might be immune to it. You know what I'm saying? They say when you hang around bacteria infested areas long enough, you get used to it. Your body builds up. The white blood cells start to expand, dog.
Yeah, they mutate. Yeah, they turn into some mutants. Yeah, they mutate, man. But I just wanted to commend you, man. I wanted to jump on here and commend you because, like I said, I hit the boxing voice up and commended them. But I want to commend you because I see you are one of maybe the boxing. There's a few channels like really calling it down the line, man. Because these other guys, it's like, man, they Keith Thurman was in high demand, I guess, right?
Yeah.
He was in high demand. Everybody's excited to see him fight. The 3 fights in 6 years, he's in high demand.
High demand. High demand, dog.
Yeah,
I
man.
agree with you on that. Like when it comes down to this information, the way people was putting Gervonta Davis' name up there, he's supposed to be on the card. He's supposed to be on the card. He's not on the card. It's just a disappointment to have, first of all, the co-main event from a guy who was gifted a title, gifted the world title in the worst way, blatantly. And then no knock on Tim Tszyu in this case. No knock on him, man. I can't put him in the freaking toilet. But for Keith Thurman to be on there with Tim Tszyu, Tim Tszyu is trying to get a name like Crawford.
Yeah.
It does nothing for his value. It does nothing for Tim Tszyu's value to
at all.
Keith Thurman. At all.
This is the guy that was chasing after. He was chasing after Charlo, and you give him a guy who's I don't. What did they dig Keith up at, man? And no disrespect, Keith is my guy. Like I said, he blessed me with the sauce plenty of time. But where did they find him at, man? Where was Keith at, man? Because apparently where Keith was at.
Keith like being at the top of the summit, man, on the peaks, on the mountain peaks, playing the vuvuzela.
Man, Keith just came out of the left field, man. And like I want to say this too while I'm on your show, and I'm gonna reiterate this later on. It is a disheartening feeling when a guy who, and it's like I said, I love Keith, man. Keith has always been good to me, never fronted on me once, right? But as a consumer, right, to have to pay for a guy who has 3 fights in 6 years, right? Mm-hmm. He's, like I just said, there's no knock on Keith, but he's not high demand TV. Now, had this been Tank Davis, somebody that's, packing him in there and doing these things that we were programmed to like, I'm paying for it. It's Tank. But Keith, what has Keith done in 3 years? I mean, in 3 fights in 6 years, other than Keith is great with the the wordplay, but that's not what I'm paying for. I'm paying to fight.
I agree. We want to pay. We want, as consumers, we want to make sure our money is invested correctly. We know we're gonna get some sorry fights, but this was supposed to be the opener, bro. This was supposed to be the opener.
Absolutely.
This was the Amazon Prime new deal, brand fresh new network extraordinaire. We was waiting on Tank Davis to light it up because we know something special was gonna come from that. But no, he got other stuff going on, and we got Keith, like you said, like where did they get him? I understand how fossils are freaking found, but where was Keith at though? Was he the one that was in the cave and they was digging for fossils and they ended up finding Keith back there undernourished? You know what I'm saying? I mean, what did they get this guy?
I just like to me.
This.
Go ahead.
Also, I want to ask you this too. When you get your answer, you asked where they find freaking Keith at. In the process of what the information you've been getting from your mole, could you let the listeners know, have you found any type of freaking signs of DNA or hair strands about Frank Martin? Is it something out there about Frank Martin that's gonna, because he said he's going to go through the ceiling. So I'm trying to see if he's talking about the crawl space ceiling or actual high ceilings. You know, could you elaborate, please?
Yeah, when I ask the mole all the time about Frank Martin, right? You know, Frank Martin, he tells me Frank is innocent, right? You know, Frank doesn't have nothing to do with this, right? Because I'm like, yo, what's up with Frank? Is Frank getting the tank fight? You know, they saying he's getting the tank fight. They just keep saying, like you said, Frank got something big on the table. What table? I don't know. You know, I don't know. I thought he had something big on the table when they offered him $1 million. You know, and he was only making a quarter. You know, so I don't know. I don't know. You know, but hopefully Frank does
see Frank
get the
Martin
tank
on
fight.
this March 30th card. Is there any way you would have, if
Of
you
course,
had somebody
of course.
to swap out? Would you like to see Frank Martin?
Hold on, you came in.
I was saying that if you could swap out Isak Cruz, do you think a Rolando Romero versus Frank Martin at 140, Frank Martin could have got it done?
Nah,
Would
you
that bring a little bit
know who I want to
more
see. I'm
value?
glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up. I spoke with the uncle. I would have loved to have seen Gary Antoine Russell get a shot, man. Or if not him, right? If not him, I said this too. I would have loved to seen Kenny Bossman Sims get a shot. These are legit 140-pound fighters. You know, no knock on Pitbull Cruz. I like him, good guy, but he's a 135-pounder.
Man, that's some good names you just mentioned. You know, Kenneth Sims, man, or Antoine Russell would have been tough for Rolando.
Or Antoine Russell, Swan the Dawn, for real. If I had if I had, shout out to my guy Bernie the Boxer. If I was able to make deals, right, like the guy we're talking about, that's what I would have did, man. I wish I could have seen somebody at a 7-Eleven, but unfortunately I'm battling this PBC swine flu, so I couldn't run into nobody in 7-Eleven and try to broker that deal.
Damn, that would have been epic too, bro. Seriously, that shit would have been epic, man. And then I thought the reason why I asked about Frank Martin, because he's attached to Man Down Promotions. I thought that was a little bit more connect, you know, a little bit more prestige for him to get a fight like that, for them to maneuver him like they did Rolly. Maneuver him into a slot like that for a title.
Maybe they're gonna try to run with your hot grease, because even though, you know, the WBO has been a top ranked fight belt, you know what I'm saying, that you know how the sanctioning bodies, you know, that's usually a top ranked sanctioning body belt, but maybe they're trying to get Frank Martin the opportunity for the WBO. That could be what the ceiling is for him, you know, because like I said, I don't know if you heard me last night. Tank's gold rate is $5 million. Frank won a little so 1.5. I don't see Amazon Prime paying 6.5 million for those two to fight.
Okay. That's the
sauce. So I'm thinking maybe
sense.
I'm thinking Frank may, you know, do something else and it's gonna hit him through the ceiling, right? You know?
Yeah, you know, when it comes to Frank Martin, I think of crawl spaces, and those have ceilings. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to say, okay, when it comes to Frank, I don't know what is his height restriction on this ceiling he's talking about. I hope it's something special. I hope it's a WBO strap, you know, so they can at least line that man up for unification. But
yeah,
I like those suggestions, man. You know, Gary Antoine Russell could have got the shot, would have spruced it up a little bit, and then, you know, I mean, yeah, it would have been nice, you know, for them names to get thrown up in there, man. You coming in robotic.
How about now?
You good?
Still robotic?
No, you good.
I said, yeah, remember All right, I said, do you remember prior to that injury when they had that card at the Cosmopolitan? Gary Antoine Russell was supposed to be in the mix for the WBA and all of that. But then, you know, he sustained that injury and they took him off the card, but they never brought him back on board.
Yeah.
And me personally, I'm like, man, this would have been the perfect time right here. Throw him out there.
Even thinking, I was like, with the new Amazon deal, is there any way that the blacklist, you know, the cloud can be taken off the Russells, you know, with the new Amazon deal? You know, it's still under the same, you know, grand poop of guidance, but is there any way for that to be removed? Is there any way to break the curse, man?
Absolutely.
Because I doubt Gary's gonna apologize for what he said about Floyd ever.
Nah. You know, listen, Boss Man Sims, Kenny Sims.
Okay, Kenny Sims, that's who Kenny Sims, man. That guy can box, man. I know for a fact he could go in there and beat Isak Cruz or Rolly without a doubt. But these are guys that I would have loved to see him get the opportunity. Yeah, man, absolutely, man. Kenny Sims, what was the last fight he had? That fight. Let me look him up right quick.
Right there, yeah, he fought on at the Cosmo. Remember where Bud was at the fight, and the security didn't want to let Bud. They act like they didn't know who Bud was.
Kenny Sims had a fight that he was just showing out, man. Like it was a tough fight. Was it his last fight against Akhmedov? The 12-round fight at the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas.
The Cosmopolitan, yeah. Cosmo.
Man, that was a good fight for him. Real talk. That was a good fight, man.
Yeah,
that's a good fight. He won a majority decision, 12-round majority decision. And
that fight had bumped him up in the WBA. But I'm like, listen, when it comes to the PBC politics, I try to stay out the way, man, and just put out content on it. Because it's like, how are these guys fighting and getting in position over there? Then you're bringing up guys that ain't even in the weight class and they getting title shots.
Yep. Kenny Sims is number 2 in the WBA.
Yeah.
Why he's not going in the ring, I have no idea, man.
For real. You know
I'm saying, maybe Isak Cruz coming up from 135 to fight at 140? It makes no sense. Like you said, it makes no sense at all, bro. Nothing.
Yeah. But hey, what do we know, right? What do we know, man? What do we know?
Gary Antoine Russell, he's not even ranked in the WBA, but he's definitely 3rd in the WBC.
Yeah, they keep flip flopping him. Yeah, you know they flip flop him. He be in one sanctioned body in the top 5, and then they axe him out and put him in another one because he was in the WBA until Rolly got that belt.
Okay.
When Rolly got that belt, he just miraculously vanished out the WBA rankings, and like you said, now he's in the WBC. Like, man, you can't. Yeah, I don't know. I just, you know what? I'm enjoying being a content creator. I need to get some of these sources that these guys have, so I can come with that cheese. You know what I'm saying? That 7-Eleven, that 7-Eleven nacho cheese, man.
You ain't lying, man. For real. Do you believe Keith Thurman can go the distance? You know, what is your guesstimate on not really a prediction as far as detail, but do you believe with his time off and him being susceptible to body shots, and going in there with a puncher like Tim Tszyu, do you think he can go the distance?
All right. Now, great question. Great question. I'm going to try to dumb down my answer as much as I can, right? Somebody that has been watching Tim Tszyu, active fighter, right? Basing it off of his performances, Brian Mendoza, Tony Harrison, these guys that he has actively been in the ring with and been applying pressure. Now thinking about Keith, like I said, I don't know where Keith's been at, right? He hasn't been fighting. But
Yeah.
what we do know about Keith is he does not like the body. He does not like pressure. I think this is a disaster for Keith. Moving up in weight, fighting a guy like I just said, Tim Tszyu was a pressure type of fighter. We don't know the logistics yet. If they're gonna put them in a shoebox, if they put them in a shoebox, Keith Thurman, he's known to have legs and a bicycle, but if they put him in a shoebox, which is a small ring, in trouble.
No, I have to caveat to that. I'm looking at Keith Thurman and the way his name is spelled. He doesn't have a J in it. If he had a J with the A, with a HI maybe middle name, then the ring would be damn near a freaking shoebox size. Then we're talking about, because that makes all the sense in the world, man. You know what I'm saying? Every time a guy steps up and fight, he went from this size to that fight, and then it ended up being a 6x6. You know what I'm saying? Keep
Yeah, now only reason I brought that up because you remember the ring that he fought Tony Harrison in, man. But I know that was Australia, but the ring that he fought Tony Harrison in was the shoebox, man.
Yeah, man. Like, I'm curious to know what the ring size is going to be, but why should it matter? Because Keith is not going to have the legs to do anything, in my opinion. I don't think he's going to be able to run if he wanted to run.
Yeah, and I just want to commend. I just want to commend you as a front liner. See, you understood what I was breaking down and the logistics, speaking on the ring side. Like if you saying the shoebox and all of that with the ring.
Yeah. I mean, it does happen. We've seen it. It happens,
Yeah.
bro. The ring reduction, it happens. We've seen that shit. We're like, hold up. What's going on? You see that ring? That shit's small as hell. Why? Somebody's plotting, goddamn it, for real. Do you think if does Tim Tszyu have to go in here and stop Thurman to really, shake up and get the interest of a possible Crawford fight? You know what I'm saying? Do he need something spectacular?
He's not gonna look good for him, right? Especially you're dealing with a guy that has been inactive. You've been stopping predominantly active fighters. Like Brian Mendoza was coming off a highlight knockout of Sebastian Fundora. You beat the brakes off of him. So you got to stop Keith Thurman in my eye.
Okay. That's what my feelings at with it too. I think Tim Tszyu goes in there and stops Keith Thurman. And people say, okay, that was you supposed to do. Now let's get on the bigger and better things. I saw a tweet, man, or I saw some news that was floating around that somebody was talking about step aside money, trying to get Al Heyman to give step aside money, to Errol Spence to get him out of the freaking Crawford contract.
Close the window.
Yeah, I seen that cheese, that old nacho cheese.
That's 7-Eleven. That's 7-Eleven nacho cheese.
I see that 7-Eleven nacho cheese. These like I said, I need to find some of those sauces, man. Cause I chop it up with you. I chop it up with other reputable people in the game. I never can get none of that 7-Eleven cheese though, man. I can't
either, man.
I can't get that, man. I can't get that. Like the cheese that I got, right? I seen the boxer voice and them talking about that today. I was talking about that a little bit yesterday, saying how the people are saying, this card, man. Like, what is Al Heyman doing? Like, this is a travesty. And I seen, that was the talk. Now, as far as the 7-Eleven cheese,
You went out.
that's good.
You went out. Shout out to Martin King Boxing on deck, man. Mr. Golden OG on deck. I see you. I read something like it's Friday.
Share some boxing.
Yeah, you going in and out. You been talking the whole time or not? Because I ain't hear a word you said.
Nah. I said I just arrived at the crib, man.
Oh,
But I
okay,
said
for sure.
I appreciate you letting me, come on and chop it up
Always,
with you,
man.
man.
Always,
You
man.
know.
So give a big shout out to them black leaders in there. You know, the Saya and Coach Rain.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
definitely, man. You keep dropping the hot grease too, man.
No
And
doubt,
listen,
man.
man, if you come across any of that good 7-Eleven cheese, man, please throw some my way, man.
Definitely. I'll send it over there, man.
All right,
Real
Kyle, man, I
talk.
see you.
All right, for sure, man. Monty King put it out. Shout out to Shot News, man. You know what I'm saying? The fam on deck. Monty King says Friday. OG Golden back already found. Looking forward to the Munguia versus Ryder fight. Want to put some bets down. So who you betting on that fight there, Monty King? Who you going for? I'm pretty sure you the one. You're probably going for Munguia. If I'm guessing, you going for Munguia, the Zorro of boxing. The fighter that no one knows about, but they see him in flashes. He dips in and he dips out. You probably going for Munguia. Toby said the Beterbiev and Smith fight was 18-18. Yeah, man. They should have. I think the only way that Callum Smith was going to survive that, I don't know. I don't know how he would have survived it. You know, did more cardio, whatever. I don't know. He just got broke down by that machine. When you're in there with a machine that keeps on, cutting off the ring and shorten the distance, closing down on your ass, it's difficult, bro. It's difficult, real talk. But I didn't really get into Thurman's purse. From my understanding, Keith Thurman is not getting paid hardly anything. If it's true that he's not getting any back end money. You know what I'm saying? If that is indeed true, like he's not getting any back end money. Keith Thurman is fighting a non-title fight, 12 rounds, and he's not getting any back end money. And he was a former unified welterweight champ who's been with the PBC for the duration, moving up and making his debut at 154. Why is he getting paid crumbs? I'm not up here advocating for Keith Thurman, but I'm saying he was a former unified welterweight world champion. Why is he getting paid crumbs against Tim Tszyu? You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're under a new budget with Amazon Prime. I will find out that number for you. Seriously. I'm looking to find out that number tonight, matter of fact. I want to know what the budget is for Amazon Prime. I do. I know with Showtime, I believe the budget was $125 million, something like that. I want to find out what is the numbers, what's the annual budget for Amazon Prime. And I also want to know if their relationship, their contractual agreement with Amazon Prime is contingent on their productivity of fights that they're putting on annually. I'm curious about that. I'm very curious about that in a sense. Seriously. Very curious about that. What is their budget like? Because it seems like the PBC has been knocked down several notches. They've been knocked down several notches. Now the pro PBC channels are gonna have to accept it. There's nothing they can do about it except talk. They'd rather keep the topic on miscellaneous, names that don't really have to do with the PBC structure. Because if you talk about Crawford, now that he's over there, he's not really the PBC structure. Yeah, he's in there and he's the face. I get it. But at the end of the day, it's still some individuals out here that don't like him being in that environment. They don't like him in that footprint. They would talk about any and everybody else if they could. But since Crawford took down the face of their organization over there, there's not really anybody else that fancy them enough to talk about like they did Spence. It's definitely ain't the Charlos. You know what I'm saying? I mean, who could they talk about? Build up. Who is over there? You know what I'm saying? It still got that spunk. You know, Errol Spence is done. You know what I'm saying? Errol Spence is done. Charlo's is done. I like David Benavidez, man. He's a good dude, man, and he can fight. He should be getting more recognition. Seriously. I know they pushing the shit out of David Morrell, but come on, man. Like David Morrell, you gotta fight better competition to get the notoriety. Yeah, it's gonna be tough, man. Caleb Plant, he lost his title. He lost again to David Benavidez. You know, that was a guy who told me Benavidez was the easiest fight in the division. But then you lose to him. It was a good fight. But you lost to him. I don't know, man. I know a lot of people are going to be trying to look past this fight card. Desperately, they're gonna pay attention to it a little bit because there's some Keith Thurman fans out there. It's some Tim Tszyu fans. You know what I'm saying? There's gonna be some people that pay attention, man. It's a mediocre card. I ain't gonna lie. But for Keith Thurman, I just want to know why he's getting crumbs. In the scheme of things, how much credit does Tim Tszyu really get for giving Keith Thurman his second loss? What type of win does Tim Tszyu need to build up his name out here? You know what I'm saying? To build up that current that everybody's looking for potentially him and Crawford. And then you got to also consider this. I know I keep his name silent, but you still have Jermell Charlo in there. Is Jermell Charlo going to reappear? Does he still have that Crawford, call out on his tongue? Or that was just for the night in question that he wanted to get up here and say he want to fight Crawford? Because we ain't heard shit from him. He's the unified champion over there. We haven't heard nothing from him. But more so, people concerned, especially me, on what Tim Tszyu is going to do. Because him and Crawford may be easier to make other than him and Jermell. Yeah, that may be an easier fight. Because I just see it's going to be some bullshit. It just seems like it's going to be some petty ass bullshit with him and Jermell. Now, would I like to see that fight before? Which fight would I like to see more? Crawford Jermell Charlo or Crawford Tim Tszyu? I ain't gonna lie to you. I would like to see Jermell Charlo fight. And you know why I'm going with this. Because Jermell Charlo, his whining ass, bitching and complaining. And plus, he's over there under Derrick James, or previously was. Of course I want to see Jermell Charlo go in there and get that work. Hell yeah. And then he shamed his people by going in there running from the Mexican superstar. He ran from the man. That made blacks in boxing, it just made us look bad. Even the fans. All of us, we took some type of hit with that. That shit was bad. That shit was bad. I know from them conversations we had in the military when we having the discussions about boxing, I know some black Marines in there just catching goddamn incoming mortar rounds. When goddamn Mel Charlo went in there and ran the way he did. I know it was Hispanic, Latino, goddamn vets in there just tearing that motherfucker ass up, boy. They said, this what you call a boxer? Look at this shit. He's running the whole fucking time. I'm about to go put on my freaking PT gear and go for a run after this shit. Mel Charlo, got me hyped. He ran for 12 rounds, man. I think I need to go for a run. We caught some heat from that performance. So if I had to call it, I definitely say I'd like to see Bud Crawford fight Jermell Charlo, plus his 2 titles. Go in there and beat Jermell Charlo, then he has potential of fighting Tim Tszyu. Then again, if Canelo is anywhere in the mix for Bud Crawford, that fight is bigger than any other fight in boxing. Point blank. So I would definitely like to see that fight if it's presentable, if it's accessible. You know what I'm saying? If it's somehow, some way, the contract can be put out there and availability is on deck. Yeah, I'd like to see that shit. I was thinking today, what are they allowing Crawford to do over there? Bud is not going to tolerate being inactive. He's playing basketball a little bit too much for my liking. Well, you know he played basketball in between, getting ready, I believe, for his fight with Spence. And then he was playing basketball, if I'm not mistaken, after he fought Spence. I know he did before, because the fake news that was coming out with the dates. I know before he fought Spence, he was over there playing basketball and shit like that, and people was like, well, I thought he's supposed to be in fight camp for Spence, but I guess that's not happening now because he's in a basketball game. But you have to look at it like this too, Marlon King. You know, Roy Jones, when he fought Eric Lucas, that man played a basketball game on the same day. Legend. He played a b-ball game on the same day, shawty. Come on, man. I mean, these athletes, these top tier athletes like that, man, they different, bro. I know what you're saying. He playing basketball too much. He can get injured, knee, ankle, shit like that. Hey, I mean, you're talking about a guy, that every time I see him on deck, most of the time, him and his people up there wrestling. I don't even watch Keith like that. I'm streaming it because I don't know how he's going to fight. You won't be the only one. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure it's plenty of people out there that's going to stream that shit. I'm still having technical difficulties being able to chime in. OG True Media Insider. Okay, for sure. Got your mic blocked. How can they block a mic? Bud always competing. He's not worried. Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. For real. That's what we need to be looking out for. Like, I like what the person said up top about Bud being inactive. If you go back to what I just mentioned a couple of lives ago, I said this is the same situation that Terrence Crawford avoided in 22. They wasn't going to fight in 22, but Crawford made it clear that he wanted to fight in 22. They pretended like they was going to put everything out there, but Bud said when they sent back the final revision, the fight wasn't going to be in 22, so he had to walk away. They was never going to fight in 22, so that's why he fought Avanesian. So he was able to avoid sitting on his hands throughout the holidays into 23, waiting on the fight to happen without a paycheck, and also being inactive. Now, they fought July, and how time flies, we back to what they tried to do in 22. Now, from my understanding, that he's freaking stuck in a rematch clause, and I've told you how I feel about that. I told y'all how I feel about that. We have a guy in Spence who activated the 30-day rematch clause knowing he had an eye condition and he wasn't going to be in the ring in December. I'm not saying that was the primary cause for him not stepping and freaking being able to meet that December deadline with Showtime still on deck. But it's just the fraud part of it, being dishonest. You say you knew about this 3 years ago, but yet you enacted a 30-day rematch clause knowing that you couldn't make the restriction. You couldn't make what was in the contract. You couldn't make the deadline. It's easy for you to activate, but what about the December date in 23? Not only that, if you say your eye was that fucked up, then go to the doctor, go into 24, and now you get surgery when we thinking we about to hear another date. So we got 8 weeks, and then we don't know what the fuck going on. We don't know any of that shit. We don't know nothing. We know nothing. We don't know anything, bro. This dude wait to 2024 to say, oh, it got too bad. It got too bad. But you said though. Why did you get hooked with hooks and jabs? And you're dating it back to that fight, before that fight. So why activate the rematch clause, man? You wasting all our effing time, bro. He wasted all time, bro. Seriously, he wasted our freaking time. You can get injured, bro. Bud is on top peak shape. I need to see 3 more fights. 3 more fights this year from Bud. That's gonna be tough. That's gonna be tough, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm buying all Crawford fight just like Carissa and Haney. Those are American legends. I got you on Cash Out soon. This is a great boxing platform. Now, you know what it is that, Ron, I appreciate your support along with everybody else. I appreciate you, man. Real talk. And, you know, my channel ain't the only one he support. And I would say Ron been around for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So, and not only that, I mean, I be hearing this shit. He be talking on the boxer voice. He be making some good sense. You know what I'm saying? About some of the responses he call in about on TBV. You know what I'm saying? But, man, salute to you. You should be a super chat capable YouTube tripping. Man, we'll see what's up, man. You know, we'll see what's up. I don't bring it up. You know what I'm saying? I don't bring it up, man. You know, we'll just see what it is when it come down to it. But for Thurman, you know, getting paid pennies, I can't really advocate for him because he's been out inactive for so long. I heard he's getting paid less than $1 million. And I don't know the whole numbers game on that. That's just something I don't have access to. Real talk. But you know, like I said earlier, shout out to Kell Brook for being a warrior. Y'all absolutely stay tuned because there's more information that's coming out about some of the same topics. But we should do this again, y'all. Enjoy your Friday. And I'm gonna be honest, I'll probably be back on a little later. I'm just gonna step off right now. But y'all hold it down. Peace. I'm out. And shout out to the hottest chat in the MFing game. A-Side Official. You already know.
Left jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss. Now you counting stars, should've practiced more. Should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son. Actions over words, baby boy. Is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports, subscribe.